Hello everyone and welcome to episode 41 of Generation GC. My name is Molly Huddleston. I am your host, and today we are talking about Motivation Proclamation from Good Charlotte's debut self-titled album released in the year 2000. My guest this week is Jordan Black, the vocalist of Like Pacific. Last week we talked about Self-Help from Generation RX, and next week we'll be talking about a song from The Young and the Hopeless. Like Pacific formed in 2010 in Toronto, Ontario. The five-piece bonded over a shared love of hard-hitting melodic rock, eventually adopting the motto, "Stay Pissed," to describe their approach. After releasing 2 EPs, the band signed with Pure Noise Records in 2014, which has been their home ever since. Over the past 6 years, the band has released 2 full-length albums, the first of which landed on Billboard's Heat Seekers albums chart, has played festivals such as Warped Tour and Slam Dunk, and has shared the stage with artists such as Good Charlotte, State Champs, Trophy Eyes, and more. Yes, that's right, Like Pacific did a short run with Good Charlotte in the spring of 2017, and you already know we're going to talk about it. I met the band for the first time in 2015. It was, I think, their first real tour in the US, and it's been really cool to see all that they've accomplished since then and how active they've continued to be. Their most recent release is the song Hands Tied, which features Andrew Neufeld of the band Comeback Kid, and that's actually a B-side from Like Pacific's 2016 album Distant Like You Asked. As a heads up, this episode does talk about depression and mental illness. If you're familiar with this song, probably that doesn't come as much of a surprise, but I wanted to communicate that at the start of the episode. In case that's something tough for you to listen to, if you need to skip out on this one and come back next week, that's just fine. Otherwise, though, I hope you enjoy listening to the conversation that Jordan and I have, and if you do relate to it, I hope that it gives you some comfort and just reminds you that you are not alone, that you're not the only one who has struggled with mental illness. That's why I really enjoy talking about it and getting vulnerable on the podcast, because I know that it helps me when I hear other people share their experiences that relate to my own. If you are looking to get help for depression, for anxiety, for eating disorders, for any kind of mental illness, if you go to Tourette Lover Her Arms website, twloha.org, they have a Find Help button, and that will help connect you with resources in your area. But if you are in crisis, please, if you're in the US, you can call 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255, or text HOME to 741-741 for crisis text line. And if you're in Canada, you can call the Crisis Assistance Hotline 833-456-4566. Thank you, Jordan, by the way, for directing me to what resources we could share for our Canadian listeners. And by the way, I know I have a lot of listeners around the world, so if anyone has suggestions of resources I might link to in other countries when it is relevant to the topics of our episode, please let me know. I will make sure to include them. As a reminder, please visit antisemitism.card.co and blacklivesmatters.card.co to continue learning about anti-Semitism in the Black Lives Matter movement, respectively. It's important to educate ourselves and to continue speaking out against all forms of injustice. Finally, Generation GC stickers are here. Do you want a sticker? There are 2 ways you can get them. Number 1, go to anchor.fm/GenerationGCPod and click support. Supporting the show on Anchor helps me make the show the best it can be. It helps me get whatever equipment I need, such as laptop stands, microphones, headphones, cords, any kind of doodads like that, as well as print stickers and get them mailed to y'all. And full transparency, any money that does come in via Anchor, whether that's the support or the ads that get run, all of that goes right back into the show itself. Number 2, you can make a charitable donation. Go to blacklivesmatters.card.co, and that lists a lot of resources. Just any organization, whatever amount you can afford to give is great. And then you're going to take a screenshot of either your support of the show on Anchor or your charitable donation and send it to me along with your mailing address. You can reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram at GenerationGCPod, POD, or you can send me an email, generationgcpod@gmail.com. That's about it for our intro. Thank you for tuning in, and now on to our episode.
Okay, so the first thing I have here in my notes, Jordan, is what is the actual name of this song? Because I've always believed it to be Motivation Proclamation, and like the version of the album that I had, which was like the reissue that included the Click as like track number 10. I had it as Motivation Proclamation, but now like on Spotify and the music video on YouTube, it's The Motivation Proclamation.
Yeah, see, when I was younger, it was Motivation Proclamation for sure.
Right.
Like, this is got to be a Mandela thing because
right, that's exactly what this is.
When I was younger, it was like Motivation Proclamation. Like that's what it was on YouTube or like Yahoo Launch. When you watched like the video, it was like, Motivation Proclamation. I don't remember it being the Motivation or the Motivation Proclamation. So that's kind of weird.
Definitely had some demo of it that was labeled the Motivation Proclamation, but I don't know. I think it's definitely like a Mandela effect, right?
This has to be a Mandela effect. It has to be, because I don't remember it being like the word "the" in front of it at all.
Yeah. By the way, good job to them for using a big word, proclamation.
Yeah, true.
That's like, it's like when I first heard All the Small Things by Blink-182, and he says watching, waiting, commiserating, and I'm pretty sure I had to go look up what commiserating meant.
Oh, of course, because we're like kids and we just like loved like the way they looked and the sound, and it was popular. So any big word you didn't really like know unless you had you like Googled it. Yeah,
I was like, ooh, proclamation, ooh, that's fancy. So this is track 3 on Good Charlotte's debut self-titled album. Track 2 is Waldorf Worldwide. Track 4 is East Coast Anthem. So they have this, which is like, it's definitely a song that goes into a lot of like deep topics, which we'll get into. And it's kind of like getting you ready to get pumped up. And then East Coast Anthem is just like super high energy, like boom, 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 fast, fast, fast.
Yeah, East Coast Anthem and Festival Song were like my two, besides Motivation Proclamation, were like just the 3 favorites on the record for me growing up.
Yeah. It's got a lot of those good, like real fast songs, which is real fun.
Oh, yeah.
So this song, it was a single from the album, but it was like a sleeper hit. So it was released as a single like the spring after the album came out. I noted that it charted in Australia at number 78 and number 28 in New Zealand, but I was searching, but like I couldn't find any info on how it charted in like the US or Canada or Europe. So I don't know, I'm kind of taking it as like it just didn't really chart those places. Do you remember hearing it on the radio in Canada?
Let's just say hit number 1. No, it definitely I don't remember. I always remember seeing the video, but the video was like the least played video. They played like Little Things and Festival Song over Motivation Proclamation because it never I definitely saw it a couple times on TV, but it wasn't often. I never heard it on the radio though. You hear everything else.
Yeah, Little Things I would hear on the radio sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
In terms of,
it's definitely the slept on track for sure, like which makes no sense.
But so what I found is that since they've come back from hiatus, they've played this at pretty much every show, and like digging a little into the set lists, it seems like they played it all the time from like 1999 to 2003, and then from 2000 they like didn't play it again pretty much at all until about 2007, and they would play it kind of here and there from like 2007 to like when they went on hiatus in 2011.
Which is like, I mean, I could get it, like I mean, you know, whatever, but it's just it gets strange. But then again, it's like one of those tracks that's probably like people didn't hear. It wasn't shoved in their face like the radio did with like Little Things and every other hit they've ever had. You know what I mean? So.
Right. But
like but the thing is it's a single. So it's like, why the hell didn't, you know, I don't know, whatever.
I mean, we'll talk about this more in a bit when we like dive more into the song, but it's been very cool seeing them play this post hiatus because they always have like a lot to say about the backstory and everything.
Yeah, totally.
So this song also features additional vocals by Jimmy Haha of Jimmy's Chicken Shack. And I just recently learned, as a relevant bit of history, that before joining the band, Billy Martin went to go see them play in Annapolis at the insistence of Jimmy Haha. So that is like a full circle moment to have Jimmy Haha on this song.
Yeah, that's really, yeah. What?
Very, very full circle.
Wow.
I also noted that the song is included on their Greatest Hits album, and the Japanese deluxe version of the album had a live acoustic version of this as a bonus track.
Well, see, that's crazy that it's on the Greatest Hits album, but it like literally didn't
Right?
like necessarily. We don't know if it charted or like well in the U.S. or if it did anything like, or you know what I mean. And it's like, yeah, it's slept on, but it's on the Greatest Hits. Like, what the fuck? Like,
The Greatest
Hits mean like most played or like
Right?
straight up like the actual anthems that everyone like listens to. You know
I
what
think
Like,
for the Greatest
mainstream ones.
Hits, I feel like I don't know the entire backstory of the Greatest Hits, but I do know that Greatest Remixes was like in 2008 was like remixes they created, but the Greatest Hits album that came out like a little after, like the band themselves apparently did not even have anything to do with it. I guess the label was just like, oh, we're doing this.
Oh, we're gonna probably hire someone to like engineer this and do some random, which is like so strange because like I don't know how you would have. I mean, granted, they were definitely busy in their lives, but I mean, I would need to like be there and hear it all before I release something under my name.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that will be like a mini episode at some point, just doing like a deep dive on how that Greatest Hits album came to be. But I feel like there isn't even much out there because there wasn't like any additional tracks on there or any new material. Like it was literally just songs they'd already released.
That's so wild.
Yeah. So Jordan, before we dive really deep into Motivation Proclamation, I want to help our guests get to know you and Lake Pacific.
Okay. Yeah. What do you want to know?
So, first thing I like asking people is, when did you first hear Good Charlotte, and what were your first thoughts on them?
So, I really liked like Offspring and stuff like that when I was younger. Like, granted, everyone loved like all those kind of bands that were on TV, and like Offspring obviously like in the 90s did super well, and they were on like, because back in the day like music videos were mostly rock. They were and like some R&B stuff. But yeah, like I loved like the sound of like Offspring and stuff like that when I was really young. And then I remember like one year I listened to like I listened to Korn a lot because I was on TV. Yeah. And then like it might have been like, I think it was the first record came out, it was in grade 5, and I remember this kid at my school was a year older than me. He loved Blink-182, and he loved like, I can't say, is it Phoenix TX or Phoenix TX?
Phoenix TX, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Phoenix TX and MXPX and all these bands, and Good Charlotte just came out of nowhere, and he was just like, yeah, like this song is amazing, you should listen to it. And he showed me some video, and he had downloaded off of Napster, or it was Napster or LimeWire, I don't remember, but we like watched it, and I was like, yo, this is wild. These guys are punk. And I was like, this is sick. But that was like the first time. I was probably in the 5th grade. And then I found the CD. I found the name Good Charlotte at an HMV, and it said like Good Charlotte, but there was no CD in the slot. And I was like, oh, it must be really popular. It probably sold out. And then I asked the guy at the counter, and he was like, oh no, like we just don't, it's on special order because like no one wants it. And I was like, what?
Oh my God.
And he was like, I guess no one had really heard of them yet, and the record had just come out.
Was this
and I was like
the first record?
The first record, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because obviously like the stuff after that, like they blew up, so it makes sense. But so yeah, I remember I special ordering it, and I paid like probably like $28 for it when I'm in grade 5. Like my parents had to buy it for me. They were probably so pissed.
Yeah.
When they know, they're like, okay, we know you're downloading illegal music on our computer. You can just do that. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? But I had to have the CD because the cover was sick. It was so strange. It looks like Crazy Town. And the more I look at it, like there's like this weird like banner, like tattoo font of like with like swallows on it, and then like just like everything about the colorway looks like a Crazy Town music video.
Was the version that you bought of this album, was it the one that had just the banner and like GC, or did it have the photo of them on it?
The photo of them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Why, you didn't have that one?
No, I didn't. And I've been like I know it exists and it's probably not that hard to find, but no, because I had the version that had the click on it and it had...
the click is the best song they ever wrote. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's my favorite song ever. Yeah. Undergrad's anthem, baby.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's not out yet at the time of we're recording this, Jordan, but I think it's like 2 weeks, I have an episode on the click coming out. Featuring the band Till Morning, and they actually played the click acoustic for me on the podcast, which was so fucking cool because I've never heard Good Charlotte play that live.
Yeah. No, I know. I always thought they would, maybe like when they were doing all reunion stuff, but
they played it in Toronto like 2 years ago.
Yeah. I remember that. Because everyone was talking about it. Everyone was like, dude, like they played the click of all things. Like, for some reason, that was like everyone Canadian, like that was like the most searched thing for sure on like all music downloading programs.
I love that.
It was always in brackets said like Undergrad's theme or something, and you were like, yeah.
Which, by the way, like I watched all of Undergrad's getting ready for that episode on the click, and it's so great.
Undergrad is a wild show. It's very adult humor mixed with like just like, I don't know. It's got your everything. It's kind of got like, it's a college experience. You got like the really nerdy guy, the shy guy.
Gimpy, love him.
The dumbass jock Rocco. Like you've got every Cal who like sounds totally gay, but he's not. It's like, but he's like a preppy guy. I don't know. It's so weird. Like the show covers. Like it exaggerates it like crazy, but that's college essentially.
Yeah. No, Undergrads is so great. Jordan, I would love to know, as frontman of Like Pacific, how has Good Charlotte influenced like what you write and play?
Definitely on the popular side of things, where when we first started, like we definitely were just doing pop punk that we liked or we listened to. Like I was doing the first EP we ever did came out, which we won't speak about anymore. It was like we were all listening to like 4 Year Strong and stuff like that, and which is fine. But like I feel like we were listening to like way more easy core versions of that, and so like when Chris like obviously was in the band, forever playing bass. You obviously know Chris, but his favorite band is Good Charlotte, so he straight up like kind of brought that energy to it, and we'd always listen to like old, like, oh man, remember this album like from 10 years ago? We'd like listen to Good Charlotte and stuff like that a lot. And so I just remember being like, yeah, like the pop elements they have is like super radio, and like we kind of like that. It's kind of sick. Like, and then we obviously dove into different stuff, a little heavier and darker and stuff like that. But definitely played a big role in like how we wanted to sound in the beginning for sure. Because I feel like when we thought of pop punk, because pop punk was a new thing, it was like Man Overboard and Transit and and Set Your Goals and 4 Year Strong and stuff like that. But but there wasn't like a million popular bands yet. So then everyone falls back into like, oh, okay, Blink-182, okay, Simple Plan, Sum 41, Good Charlotte, like, homegrown, even like the stuff that's like not as popular, I guess, like homegrown and stuff like that, and blah, 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 whatever, and like Lagwagon and stuff like that, like things that like, from like
Lagwagon, wow, you just threw me back.
Yeah, Lagwagon and Melancholy were like, that's also where we were like, when we were like talking about, like now you talk about pop punk, you're like, oh, like, okay, like pop or like pop punk rock or whatever, you're like, okay, you're gonna be like, okay, like Story So Far, like, I don't know, like the First Citizen record, you're gonna be Wonder Years, you name all these bands. But at that time, these bands didn't really exist or were just starting or were unheard of to the masses. So you pick like the popular bands, and like I feel like Good Charlotte was that one that we just like all agreed on.
I love that. And definitely Like Pacific has had a lot of stuff that's gone on the more heavier and aggressive side. The most recent thing as of when we're recording is Hands Tied with Andrew from Comeback Kid. So I know that it's a B-side from Distant Like You Asked, but like has Andrew been on it from the beginning, or was that something that came about like more recently?
No, he's on it since the beginning. So basically what happened was we were recording Distant Like You Asked, and we had this song, and I kind of liked it. Like we didn't like love it that much, and we were like, oh, we should get, because we knew Andrew, and we were like, oh, we should get Andrew to sing on it. And he was like, and he straight up was like, yeah, I'll do it. And he took a streetcar over like from his house and like came, did it, hung out with us, listened to the rest of the record, told us what things like he likes and what he doesn't like, just basically gave us like, a little bit of info, and then just was like, we're like, yo, we'll Uber you home or something, or drive. He's like, no, it's all good. He's like, put his headphones in and like took the streetcar. We're like, okay, damn. Yeah. He's like normal like us. He's people too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the only thing that happened was like we had that song for, you know, on the back burner forever. I completely forgot about it. Like we always bring it up every once in a while, but like, you know, we forgot about it. And then basically like we were talking about like releasing it because we're recording the new record like September 7th. But what happened was we were recording this stuff earlier this year, and then we had a set date to go to the studio for May, and then COVID happened, obviously. Right. So we scrapped it for the entire summer until things got better. So now we're doing it September 7th, now that everyone's kind of comfortable, laws are being lifted and whatnot. So so basically we didn't have any content we wanted to release. We didn't want to release a single we only really recorded like 3 songs out of the whole record before COVID hit. So we were like, why would we release something from it? And then we can't release anything else. So we'd all get back in the studio and record and stuff and write together and stuff like that. So we're just like, oh, we have this B-side, let's do that. And so I went back into the studio and just redid the choruses because I felt like I could hit the notes higher.
Okay.
I was like, oh, like, it sounds like my voice, like, obviously when you get older, like when you sing, like your voice changes like almost for the worse. But when I heard the chorus of this, I was like, I could do better harmonies and do this and do that. And so like we went to the studio and that's all we did was the chorus.
Wow.
Like,
so like the verses of your vocals are from the original. From
2016 or 2015 even, yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
And so, yeah, so that long ago, but yeah, the choruses are just whatever. And then we just like, obviously like, cause Kyle Black mastered it at first. And then this time Sam was just like, I'm going to just, you know, do it myself this time because, I have you here right now. Like, no offense to Kyle, it's just like he's obviously in a different country, and you know,
Kyle's in like Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so like we kind of, you know, and obviously during COVID you can't really do that. So Sam just did it, and yeah, I like the way it turned out. Everyone was like, "Oh, this is crazy. This is going to sound in the future." And I'm like, I mean, like you're not wrong, but you're also wrong because it's a B-side, and everyone thinks it's a brand new song, and I'm like, it's new to you, but it's still a B-side. Like I almost wanted to put like, in brackets, like get ask your noise for like in brackets B-side, 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 like just like a million times, so people would be like, you know what I mean? Because some people like
it was like very clear in the press release that I got about it. It was like very clear that this was a B-side, but you know, I could see how someone
think some people think it's not, and I'm like, some people obviously like who don't like it are like, oh, I don't like this direction that they're going in. Like we're not going. What? Time ago. So like that's my only complaint about it. I'm like, oh my god, like it's a B-side song.
Right. Not necessarily reflective of where you're going in the future.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe, you know, you never really know. So.
You never know. So Jordan, before we dive into Motivation Proclamation more, I have to bring up spring 2017. You got to open for Good Charlotte on a little run in, I think, the Northeast, and I remember you telling me about this a few days before it was announced because I was seeing you open for Census Vale, which was also very, very cool. Yeah. So how did this little tour with Good Charlotte and Like Pacific, and I think it was also Less Than Jake and Crown the Empire? How did
Empire,
how did that all come together?
Honestly, like our booking agent Brad Wiseman does wonders for us, but like I don't straight up know how that happened because it was wild to be like, okay, we're doing all these tours with these like bigger bands and like
the Census Vale, they sold out Webster Hall in New York,
like a nostalgic band, boom, there you go. It's like cool, we want to do more tours, I guess. Like, and the problem with nostalgic tours is they don't really do much for you. It's because like people that are there just to see the headliner, to sing along to the songs they all know, and then obviously you get you'll get like a percentage of the crowd that is like definitely really into you know, checking out new music and learning new shit, and they go into it blindly. But this was like best case scenario. We went on tour 4 different sounding bands. Good Charlotte being like Charlotte, Less Than Jake,
variety,
essentially a ska, an old ska band, essentially still a ska band. Crown the Empire, which is like I don't even know how to describe Crown of the Empire, like an emo, like post-hardcore mixed with like you know, like a little more amped up and professional than like the early post-hardcore stuff you'd hear that's like more emo and like not tracked and produced properly, but you know, and then like Us, which is like just like kind of like fasty, kind of angry pop punk, I guess. And so that tour hit like a lot of different genres, and so that regardless if that tour did anything for us, like we still got the tour with Good Charlotte, and I don't give a shit, but people were definitely like, hey, I saw you on the like people were messaging like, I saw you on the Good Charlotte tour, like, and they're like, no, my first time seeing you, and then they come to like every other show after that. I'm like, okay, that's what we want, obviously. So it's great, you know, like it worked out for us.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what was like the highlight of that tour, but it sounds like it brought you new listeners, which is exactly what, you know, I think you would hope for from something like that.
I think the highlight of the tour was when I got to sing on stage.
Very cool. Yeah.
That was sick.
Fucking amazing. I'm looking up, I have over my desk in my home office, I have like a collage of photos, and one of them is a photo of Good Charlotte from one of those shows. So yeah, very cool. So Jordan, I was like a little back and forth with your publicist about this. I like, as soon as I started this podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have Jordan from Lake Pacific on the show. And, you know, she gave me a few songs and we settled on Motivation Proclamation. Why did you want to talk about this song in particular?
I think you said it right earlier. It's like the underdog of the songs. I think it's just because it was like I mean, you could talk about little things all day. It's like that was like revolutionary in like their career, but this is a song that was slept on, but like it was so good and almost like unheard of to a lot of people. Like they were just like, oh, I've never heard that song unless they got the record or something. So, and I just loved the video growing up. It was plain. Like looking back on it now, it was like a plain video. Of course, they were a small band. Like, what are they gonna, you know what I mean? But
they were a small band, and like I guess the Little Things video didn't do that well, and so their label was like, what I understood. We'll talk more about the music video in a bit, but from what I understand, like their label was like, I guess you can do another video. Fine, do this.
Yeah, so like it's essentially that, like it's where it's like kind of like, you know, it was just like one of those videos that no one really knew about, even like regardless of like how the other video did and stuff like that. So it's just like that was the video. When I like think about Good Charlotte, I think about like listening to that song the most off the record, and festival song, because it was like live footage stuff and crazy, and like that elevator scene. Like I was like, this is sick. And when you're younger, you're like, that's so cool and like punk, and I want to tour. Like that's what touring's like. I want to do that. So that's when it was like, you know, a thing for me. And I don't know, I just was drawn to Motivation Proclamation, not the Motivation Proclamation.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm excited to have you on for this song. I mean, number one, obviously, because this is like kind of an underdog song that I think is like becoming over time much more of a favorite. And I also, I mean, to me, just being a fan of Lake Pacific for a few years now, it's been 5.5 years since I first met y'all. I want to say you were on tour with like Vanna.
Did you meet us in Hartford?
Yeah, that was the first time in Hartford, and it was like January of 2015.
I remember because it was like that was like our first, I guess that was like, I mean, not to detour or derail the story, but that like long story short, that was like the first major, I guess I would call it major, because like Vanna was a big band and we like knew them, and so that was like the first time we ever toured the States, really. Like I think the first time we ever did it was like a Lost for Words.
And yes.
And then after that it was Vanna. So I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So it kind of worked out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was just happy to have you on for this song in particular, because I think this also touches on themes that I think your music tends to touch on pretty frequently. So Jordan, I would love to hear what you think this song is about. You know, we can discuss it a bit, and then I'll share, after we've shared our thoughts, I'll share what the band has said.
Okay. Because I went into this blindly, like always. I do a thing where I don't, unless I'm like, there's a story to it, and like an actual like crazy personal story, and like, or it's like a real life thing. Not saying that any of these emotions aren't real life, but you know, like some sort of crazy backstory. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll like look into it on the internet, but I kind of just go into it like if I like the way it sounds and it makes me feel a certain way, that's the way it makes me feel. I don't want to ruin that feeling, so I'm not going to look it up. So I've never looked up what the Motivation Proclamation is about. But I'm assuming, like, in my head, how I read it is it just being like insanely depressed and like for me it feels like the insanely depressed in like the dog days of summer kind of thing, like no real motivation to do anything and like kind of just stuck and like emotional about it, but you know what I mean, but you're like also like you need someone to be there for you to help you through it, but it's also like who do you're asking a certain someone, or who do you ask kind of thing. And that's what I took from it when I was younger. And I was like, oh yeah, true. Like, I mean, not that I was experiencing major depression when I was really young, like not until like I got a little older, but it definitely like, it resonated for sure.
I feel like this is a song that definitely like resonated with me more as I got older. Cause when I was like 12 and heard this for the first time, I was like, what is he talking about? But I think it's exactly that. It's about being very depressed. And I was thinking about it like as I was getting ready for the show over the weekend, that in terms of like the person that they're like they need to be there for them, I kind of feel like maybe that's the brothers talking to each other.
Yeah, I did think about that, because it's like, if I fall down, would you come around, pick me right off the ground? It's like that. It's like your right hand man, like right there. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So it's like I did think about that actually a lot too, because I was like, oh, they're like twins. They're like, they've been through like some wild stuff growing up and fucked up stuff. So it's like, you know, that I definitely did think about that for sure. Yeah,
I mean, it was like crazy because anyone who's listened to the show knows that like I have struggled, you know, with depression on and off for many years. This isn't new to y'all, but as I was like listening to this song like on repeat and like really pouring over the lyrics, I was like, oh wow, like, hey, I have a degree in psychology, right? And I was like, oh wow, like this, oh, they lack motivation, oh, they feel like they think they're selfish and nobody understands their pain and they want to get out, but they just don't know how. I'm like, oh, this is very, very clear. But I don't remember where this interview was, but it was like around 2018. It was relatively recent.
Yeah.
Interview that Benji did where he talked about how a lot of their older songs were about being really depressed, but he didn't necessarily realize it at the time. And, I mean, I think this is exactly, you know, what they're talking about, right? Like,
yeah, like some other things you might have to like interpret it in a different way, but like, this is like a straight up like, yes, you know that this has to do with like some sort of like mental health thing. It's like right there.
I do have I'm sorry to now ruin it for you, but there was a little article with MTV.com from the spring of 2001 talking about this video and song. And Joel says that there was a point, especially before we got signed, when there was almost a feeling of desperation. Am I ever going to get to where I won't have to wonder if I'm going to get kicked out of the place I'm staying? If I'm going to be able to eat tomorrow? Is our band ever going to get signed? Is this ever going to happen? You just want to get out of it. You want to get out of the rut you're stuck in.
Oh, like I could 100% see that now.
Yeah.
But like, I never took it like that, because that's obviously it's a very personal thing. It's outwardly personal where like you can relate, but it's also like that is obviously his story. So yeah, I never even thought about that.
Yeah. I actually have another bit of backstory that was shared to me by a listener of the show on Instagram. Mike Zick is his name, and he also grew up in the same area that the twins did. And we were just chatting. We connected this spring. He listened to the show. He loved it. He was like, oh my gosh, I'm from Waldorf. And he was like, hey, did you know this about Motivation Proclamation? And I was like, no, tell me more. So there was a benefit in Annapolis for the Capitol Gazette shooting. And there's a bar in downtown historic Annapolis by the State House and Naval Academy called Acme Bar. Benji and Joel were trying to play there, and they were told they needed one more song to fill out their set list, so they wrote this song to get the stage time.
Oh. What? So, like, yeah, that's crazy, because it's like, a really good song to come up with, like, not last minute, but like to kind of like, well, I guess kind of like to come up with, you know, like right then and there.
But it fits. I feel like it fits so well. Like that little story also fits very well to what Joel had told MTV about just feeling like desperate before they got signed. Because I mean, that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
I love getting to hear this song live now, like post hiatus, because you get to hear them talk about. They'll give a speech and they talk about like leaving home with like $50, a guitar, and like a backpack. Yeah,
like Pacific's first tour.
Yeah.
Essentially that.
Yeah. I feel like there's got to be a lot of courage in order to make that first step. But I think also, I mean, I'm you know, I'm not the first to say, oh, there's a lot of like mental health, you know, struggles that happen in touring musicians, but there are a lot. And I, you know, on a grand scale, on a meta scale, there's like, you know, putting on my fancy hat for a second with a background in psychology, I'm like, I could point to things that I'm like, this, and this, and this. I could see how that could really stress someone out and make it difficult. I did want to read, because I always like to do this whenever we talk about mental health on the show. I wanted to read some signs and symptoms of depression per the Mayo Clinic, because I think also, listeners, it so clearly relates to this song. So feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, or hopelessness. So he says, but I never said that everything would be okay. Loss of interest or pleasure in most or all normal activities such as sex, hobbies, or sports. He says, captivate me, you know, give me something that's gonna interest me. Tiredness and lack of energy, sleep disturbances, including insomnia or sleeping too much. You know, motivate me. I want to get myself out of this bed, et cetera, et cetera. There's several more, but those I found very, very clearly related to this song. But I think also, like, sometimes you don't, as a younger, and I say this as if I'm like old, and I'm 28, I'll turn 29 in a few days, but like, I think sometimes when you're in the thick of something, you don't necessarily have the words to like explain exactly what's going on.
Yeah, of course. It's like, yeah, no, exactly. It's like, it's hard to express it.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. Even having been to therapy and medication and done all the things, there's still been like a lot of times in my life where I've been like, this is terrible. This is terrible. This is terrible. But not until, you know, a certain season has passed that I'm like, oh, so that's what that was. Okay.
So for me, like in the situation where like I've been on Zoloft for like almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And it working wonders for me. The side effect I definitely have is that like, well, it's a mix of, you know, having some real feelings and not just being like numb, but also like your life, like just like, you know, it's a side effect, but it's also like real life where I do tend to sleep a lot, and like everyone's like, well, and that's a telltale sign of depression is like oversleeping, like not being able to get out of bed kind of thing. And I'm definitely the king of that shit. So,
see, I'm the opposite, because when I'm like depressed and anxious, I am insomniac.
So am I. I gotta take this much away. Like I stay up late at night and I go to. Well, I also work at a bar, so it's like a mix of both. That's where it comes. It's hard to explain because it's like I do have a late night lifestyle, and then you know, then I do like if I get 8 hours of sleep and I'm like, no, I'm gonna sleep longer. I'm like, oh my god, you know what I mean? So I do get it, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where like even hearing that song now, I'm like, oh man, like it's fucking 19 years later, I'm still like, oh, okay, damn, I still feel this way.
I mean, I think I remember learning this when I was like 14 and first struggling with depression, and like this was a thing that 14-year-old me should not have learned. Like this information should not have been accessible to me, who was struggling depression and feeling very hopeless and, you know, not having some good thoughts in the brain. But I remember learning when I was like 14 that like most people who struggle with depression, like it's usually not like a one-time thing.
No, it's ongoing. You just wait. There's methods of coping and stuff like that. And but yeah, when you learn you're 14, you're like, oh, this feeling I'm feeling, oh shit, it's gonna possibly last forever. Wow.
Right. And like learning about how if you have one, you know, depressive episode, you know, you have a certain % chance to have another. But if you've had 2, if you had 3, 4, like it just goes up and up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, God damn it. Like
that's my feeling every time, like for instance, like today, like it was supposed to rain. I think it did pour earlier, like a little bit. But it's beautiful and sunny out right now. It's really humid, but it's beautiful and sunny outside right now. But this is like the end of summer where like everyone kind of goes back to school and like the summer's dying down. And that's straight up like the worst feeling for me. Like everyone's like, oh, you know, February is the worst month for my like mental health, or like January is. And I'm like, I don't know, it sucks definitely not to get that much sun, but I got to do a lot of outdoor winter activities, or at least try to.
Yeah.
So it's just like when the summer's ending and you have that feeling of like everyone's going back to work or school and everything's going to be a little quieter. That's what makes me like, that is like the worst thing for me.
So my birthday we're recording this August 24th. My birthday is August 30th. And it actually, what's weird is like the past several years, it's like every time I realize, oh my God, I'm going to be a year older in 6 weeks. You know, it's anywhere from like 2 months to 6 weeks that I start freaking out. Oh no, I guess I did have like an actual pretty intense breakdown about 2 months before my birthday. I was like, oh, wasn't that bad this year? No, it totally was. But like 2 months before my birthday, I always have like kind of a breakdown because I'm like, oh, I'm getting older. I'm going to die of failure and alone. And like,
that is 100%. I'm the same age as you. We were born the same year. So I turned 30 next April. And like, I did get a lot of things together. Like what I do, like I live on my own in my own apartment with no roommates. You know what I mean? I've got like the band going. I got a good job, like all this stuff. But no matter what, like when you approach a certain age or you're getting older, you're just like, oh fuck. Like there's so many times where I wished I was like 25 again. And I was like, why? Yeah. But like, and then you think about it and the reasons why, but it's also like, well, then I know what I know now. And there's no way to go back and do that. So like, what, just, you know, like kind of tell yourself to shut up about it. But it's like, I know, I totally get it.
Well, and it's like I'm at the point, and I don't know what your like social group looks like, but I'm at the point where like a lot of my friends are like married, buying houses, you know, having children. Some of those things interest me more than others, but I definitely do have a lot of, okay. So the major thing is when you live in a major city, I find that is not realistically the goal. It's not like the goal is like to party and whatever and to reach out. It's definitely just to like do your own thing and then figure out the rest later, as opposed to like, I live in the suburbs.
I grew up 30 minutes outside of Toronto, outside of downtown, only 30 minutes, but it was like, you know, this giant suburb. And all my friends are like, everyone has that white picket fence dream and they're doing that. They're buying trucks. They're now having kids. You bought a house and you're 29. Okay. Fuck you. And then, I'm going to buy a cottage. I'm like, okay. But as much as I want those things and stuff like that, it doesn't like, and like I said, I guess some of the aspects appeal to us, but I'm also just like, you know, trying to do what I can. I don't look at myself anymore. I used to. My friends are like having kids and buying houses and like moving in, you know, everyone in their 20s like tries to like travel and like go live somewhere else in another country for a while. I'm not mad that I didn't do most of that stuff because it doesn't really matter to me. I'm just like, oh, fuck it. Like, you know, like, like I'm doing my own thing right now, no matter what it is. Like I could not even be in a band. I could just be sitting at home all the time, but it's like, as long as you're kind of content in what you're doing and like, who cares what you do? Like, there's no meter. Like, back in the day, there definitely was, like, where I was like, oh, you need to do this and have this and do this and be established by 30 and do this and do that and go to school. It's like, that doesn't fucking matter. Who cares? Like, as long as you're trying to maintain that sort of healthy lifestyle, not in healthy like eating or anything, like as in like mentally, then you're doing good. You're doing better than most of the world. Like,
yeah,
it's just sad to say, but I mean, yeah.
Right. I feel like I honestly made somewhat of a choice. I mean, similar to, you know, you being in a band and Benji and Joel and Billy and Paul being in Good Charlotte, of that my, you know, whatever I'm doing in music, both my full-time job as well as, you know, everything I do outside of my actual job, you know, currently the podcast, previously it was Substream and running my own blog and freelance photography. But I think I just kind of made a choice a long time ago that was like, you know, this matters to me. This makes me feel like I have a place in the universe, and like,
yeah, it's like if you're doing something completely against the grain and different, like not many people are doing this kind of thing. It's like, my biggest thing is like, the worst thing people ask me is like, you go on a tour and you come back and they go, how was the tour? And they go, oh, it's fucking amazing. Like, it was did this, it did that. What's your favorite city? Oh, this one. What'd you guys do? Oh, we just got like drunk and did this, and like we ate crazy food. And then they're like, oh, like, so like, was it successful? I'm like, yeah, you know, I came home like,
and they'll be like, oh, like how much money did you make? And
I'm like, oh, I made like $1,500. And they go, sorry. They'll go like, yeah. They'll go like, oh, like how much money did you make? Oh, like $1,500. And they go, each? And you go, yeah. And they go, that's it? And you were gone for like 5 weeks? And I'm like,
right.
Yeah, but like we broke even. We were past broke even. Like I actually made money.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing. Maybe it's not enough to like pay a lot of things. My rent is like $1,300, but then again, it's like, you know, like that's what I'm content with that. Like, so let me live kind of thing. It's also like the hotel thing where I'm like, when I post like, you know, oh, like, does anyone have a place for us to sleep? But it's less than that. It's less of that now because we're more like, I guess a little more of an established band, I want to say. So it's like, we definitely could afford a hotel. But when I say like things like, oh, like, yeah, I don't have a place we could stay in between here because it's like a crazy drive. The people are like, why don't you just get a hotel? I'm like, oh, we're just trying to save money. And they go, you guys don't have any money? I'm like, oh my God.
Oh
like,
God, yeah. Well, people seem to, so I make a small amount of money on the podcast, but like for full transparency, it has literally come out to like between listener support and the sponsor like ad that I run, it has literally come out to like $5 per episode. So it's like,
I mean, there's some, I think any revenue is good revenue.
Yeah.
So as long as you're making
it's
something.
Like, it's like, this is revenue that is my revenue, right? And it's, I did a lot of stuff. It would always be weird for me because I think people that are like my long-term friends, like a lot of my friends are people who come from similar backgrounds because you bond over it, right? But I would always have a weird experience when like I met someone new or like I talked to like a guy on Tinder. And I'm thinking of a specific one recently, but you know, they would be like, oh, that's amazing. Like you've interviewed all those people. So like you must make a lot of money doing that. And I'm like, well, no.
You're like, I'm trying to monetize it, but like, that shit takes a long time. That's it.
Yeah. There was one guy that I was talking to recently on Tinder, and he was like, that's so cool that like you're so passionate about the podcast. And he said that he wished he had something he was also so passionate about, but he just, you know, would get so self-conscious about like the results and what people would think. And I think I said something to him that like, you know, you have to find a joy in doing it regardless of the quote unquote results.
Yeah, no, exactly that. It's like, you know, if you like when you look back on it and let's say you didn't make a single cent from it, if you had fun doing it, it's like, well, I did something different. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's all you can really do. And like, people don't look at it. People look at money as success and think, now who gives a shit? Like, it's like whatever makes you happy is successful. Like, whatever you're doing in that moment is fine. Like, who cares? Like, of course, it'd be nice to make some good money and like be rich and whatever. But like, if it's not like mentally killing you and it's a good thing to do and you're having fun while you're doing other things and trying to make it bigger, like, then do it. Who cares? Like,
I mean, I made exactly $0 from the Circles and Sound Waves in 7 years, but it led to Substream. It led to my current full-time job in music, led to, giving me the skills that helped me when I took a few touring gigs, So to me that like, okay, I made $0 in 7 years, but like I got a lot out of it still.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's like where you are now. Like even if you're still making $0 from now, it's like it's still growth, and growth is successful.
Yeah.
And money is great too. Don't get me wrong. I wish I had lots of fucking money, but
I would love to have lots of money. I would love to have lots of money.
Oh yeah, same. I'd probably just spend it on dumb shit, but
Right. I know. I say that I want lots of money, and I'm like, what would I do? Is like my favorite skincare company actually has a sale today where a lot of stuff is like an extra 50% off. What would I do if I had a lot of money? I would buy out I would buy out everything from Pacifica's skincare.
Yeah. If I had money right now, I would, it's a pandemic, but I would probably I want to explore Canada more because Canada, to be honest with you, Canada fucking is great, but it also sucks because at least in the States, you can go for traveling. Like you can go to Philly, New York City, Boston, in a day. If you wanted to drive all those places, you could.
You could go to Washington, D.C. and Richmond, Virginia, and et cetera,
and Baltimore,
et cetera.
D.C. Yeah, exactly, yeah. But here, it's Toronto, and then Toronto's like the biggest city in Ontario, and then the next one would be like Ottawa, but Ottawa absolutely sucks. Like I hate Ottawa. Like I don't hate the people there. It's just, it's so boring, and it's just like, everyone's like, oh, the architecture, and like, what Canada's parliament?
It's like,
and like,
what is the other nearby city? It's probably like Montreal.
Yeah, and Montreal is like the superior city to me. I think Montreal is amazing, but it's also in a different province. Montreal's amazing, but it's like Montreal's a 5-hour drive without traffic, and Ottawa's a 4-hour drive without traffic, and then Hamilton's 45 minutes away, and Hamilton is getting a lot better, but it was considered like, like a low income city, and so it didn't have a lot going on, and people talk shit about it because that's so poor. I'm not moving to Hamilton's gross. There's like, there's like street kids everywhere, and it's like, okay, well, whatever. But like that thing is getting better, but like that's still our only options, right? Like those are my only options to go to that are okay. But like as opposed to like if you're in Boston, like Boston's amazing, and then New York's amazing, and then Philly's amazing. It's like Toronto's like the only one that's good. So I kind of want to, go like the other major cities that people live are like straight up 40-hour drives away.
Yeah, like Vancouver.
Yeah, like Vancouver and Calgary and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. But like I said, if I had lots of money, I would, even though it's a pandemic, Vancouver is doing really well. I don't think they've had a single case in like a week or something like that. And so it's like, I would go out there right now. I'd just be like, all right, I'm not working for the rest of the week. I don't work till Saturday. Boom, I'm straight up going to Vancouver. I would do things like that, which is not necessarily stupid with your money, but it's definitely like what you want. So who cares?
Honestly, if I had a lot of money, I would move to a bigger apartment. I'm not in a rush to like buy anything because I don't necessarily intend to be in one area, but I would get a bigger apartment and I would get like multiple dogs, like several rescue dogs.
Okay,
like
I knew you were going to say that, and I think I would do that too.
Like it is possibly in the works that I will get one dog this year. We'll see. But financially, realistically, I am not at a point where I could support several dogs. But would I like to have several dogs? Fuck yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah. So that's the thing though too. It's like, you don't want to necessarily buy a house right now, but like if you had the money, would you buy a house, buy a bunch of dogs? Yeah. So that's it. So hopefully the podcast makes you enough money where you can get a house full of dogs. And hopefully Light Pacific makes me enough money where I can own a house in downtown Toronto and live for the rest of my life, and just not worry about landlords and stuff like that. Even though my landlords are absolutely amazing, like the best landlords I've ever had, they live above me. But again, like it'd be how amazing would it be to have your own space that you own. Yeah. So, which is becoming less and less of a dream for people our age. Right. But yeah.
So Jordan, one thing I wanted to talk about, just as we have talked about like depression and mental health, is I would love to both share what we do to feel better when we are struggling with our mental health and what has helped you.
So, obviously in the beginning it was like pretty bad where when we were touring, like I wasn't on any medication or anything like that. And I'm really good at hiding how I feel, which is like obviously an awful thing because it comes out in weirder ways.
Terrible thing. But I also relate to that. Yeah.
I'm like, from what I remember, you're straight edge, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not that I do any drugs, like everything. So I smoke weed and I drink beer. That was a coping mechanism for a long time, which like in the long run of things is terrible. but also I learned to now be like, oh, okay, instead of like, because I'm having a bad day and I want to go out and drink and feel different, I'm going to like figure out what's making me feel bad and maybe like, you know, so I don't know. Yeah, my coping mechanism when I'm down is like, it's just to hang out with friends. I do love my alone time, but like I hated alone time before. I could never be alone, but now
it's
that
like
I have
a double-edged sword living alone.
Oh yeah, because it's beautiful to be like come home and not have to answer to anyone and do what you want.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like it's lonely especially during a pandemic. Holy shit,
Yeah.
like that was the worst. But I mean, regardless of that.
Oh, we're still relatively locked down in New Jersey, and I'm still working from home, which is like working from home. I like, but not being able to then go out to dinner with friends is pretty unfortunate.
There's bars open here, and like I don't understand people who want to go inside bars. I'm like, that's fucking ground zero. What is wrong with you? But then again, I'm also like, excuse me, sorry. I'm never gonna judge someone for how they navigate a pandemic because like we've never dealt with this. Like if you want to go out to a bar and get shit faced and like not wear a mask, like I mean you should wear a mask, but like
you wear a mask. Yeah.
If you want to do all these things, like what am I gonna do? Like come to your house and kick your ass? Like no, because I know that this is probably a mental thing you're dealing with. Like you just can't be in your house any longer. Yeah. So like lately I've been going to a lot of patios with my friends and like not necessarily getting like drunk or shit facing it, but like, we'll even go just play cards with like a bunch of my friends and like drink soda water. And like I'm just especially right now in the summer, I'm like trying to do that a lot. Regardless if it was a pandemic or not. I think my biggest thing would be like just like bike riding or like renting a rehearsal space and jamming other shit besides like specific stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like doing that. Yeah, just doing that for fun, like on your own. It's like what I do for a living essentially. So like let's just do that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely for me, hanging out with friends is a big one, although that's, you know, occasionally there will be like a walk in the park or a beach trip or something, but you know, it's a little trickier and you have to be a lot more careful in making those things happen now. For me, I know that this is like the most cliched thing ever, but doing yoga has really helped my mental health.
Yeah, true. Like, I totally respect that and understand that. Yeah.
But I know that it's like the most cliched thing ever. And I go see my parents and mostly I go see the dog, little Dobby. Little Dobby, very good boy. And I watch like stupid YouTube videos. I have like
I went into a wormhole of like possibly the worst. Okay, I think the three weirdest things that during this pandemic for my mental health was number one, I started growing weed because it's legal here and you can. And I was like, oh, I'm going to grow weed in my backyard. And it became like a green thumb. Like, I don't even care if, like, I don't like, obviously I don't want them to die or anything yet, but I'm like, I'm like so fascinated by how fast they grow and all this stuff like that. And I don't even smoke that. I don't even really smoke weed that much. I think more maybe during the pandemic, but like I definitely don't smoke that much at all. So it's like, that was a weird thing I picked up. And another thing was I went on this awful loophole of YouTubers, like just watching I didn't want to mention his name. He's canceled now. So Shane Dawson, like I hate him.
Yeah.
But like he sucks. But like in the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, yeah, I'm going to watch all his videos because there's nothing else to do. And then I watched it and I was like, ew, like, why do I like this? And I was like, all right, that happens.
And now you're getting the videos that are like, here's why Shane Dawson is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I read that, and I'm like, oh my god, they were right the entire time. I just didn't even look into it. But like, but then again, like, obviously, you know, I wasn't a big YouTuber person, so I didn't know any of these people's followings or what they've done in the past. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a video from him pre-2018. You know what I mean? So like, there's, I mean, regardless, like anything else, like watching old music videos on YouTube and stuff like that. You know, my favorite thing I think for my mental health is like me and my friend Jesse. He's like my hometown friend, but we live on the same street now in Toronto.
Love that.
And we would just go for like night beers where we'd like bring a beer with us and we'd walk like the neighborhoods and like walk along like abandoned train tracks and like look at cool stuff at like 2 a.m. And I was like, this is amazing. Even though it's like fucking straight up so boring to do. Like obviously if there wasn't a pandemic, I probably wouldn't do that all the time. But now that, you know, I've done it, I'm like, oh, I want to do that more often, you know, like, so stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think really like outside of a pandemic, I think the only way to really cope with mental health stuff is just like getting outside. And I hate people say like, you want to cure depression, go outside. That does not work like that. But can it help some people? Yeah, totally. To do it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've done a lot of like vegan and animal rights activism. I have done one, I went to one event since COVID has begun, but I went and it was like a lot of people were just not wearing masks. And I continue to see people going to these similar animal rights demos and protests and outreach events. And a lot of people will like not wear masks. And so I'm like, not worth the potential help to my mental health to like also potentially get COVID, Man,
like, could you imagine how scary it would be even if you just got like a low symptom case of COVID, like just because no one knows what's going on. Like
my brother got it. My brother got it. Yeah, he got it in March. So
I'm pretty sure I got it in February, but we'll talk about that later. But
yeah, I mean, my brother got it in March, and like he, I guess might have been somewhat high risk because he had a pretty major surgery end of last year. But luckily he did not get like that sick. But it was still like it's scary, right?
Yeah, because it's a new virus that no one knows. Like we still don't know everything about it, and like especially like us commoners don't know much about it. Like obviously health officials know more, but it's like, and they're doing the best they can to explain. But it's it's wild that this is happening to us in our lifetime right now. Yeah, it could be way worse, but it's still pretty bad. Like
well, and it's yes, if you're relatively young and otherwise relatively healthy, you have a better chance at not getting it too bad. Despite my brother having
bouncing back like properly,
Yeah, I mean, despite my brother having, had some prior issues recently, he is otherwise very young. He eats very healthy. He works out all the time. But you also like could have zero pre-existing conditions and
still die.
Yeah. Which
like
is
fully like the absolute like end. You could die off of like a virus, like which is so wild to me.
Yeah. I remember literally a week before NJ went into lockdown, like being at a Taco Bell with my friend and being like, we just need to like wash our hands and like stay home if you're sick. Like it's not a big deal.
Oh, that's it. Oh yeah. Well, they here, like, I don't know if they did it there, but here they like locked down like all schools and shit. And like for like March break. Well, they did like March break stuff. And I got tattooed like 2 days before a pandemic. And I was like, I don't give a shit. Like who fucking cares? Yeah. But now I'm like, whoa, that was absolutely insane to do, but okay.
Right. Yeah. I got my haircut in March and my salon closed 2 days later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got tattooed. We closed everything on a Monday closed. And I got tattooed on the Friday evening. And on Sunday night, before my friend Peter was working at this bar called Farside we always go to, and he was like, yo, come to the bar. And we went. He's like, this is the last night we're open till further notice. And I was like, damn. And like, we were like, all right, we better get drunk and like have a good time. And we like went and got fast food after and like walked the streets till 5 a.m. because everyone doesn't have work the next day. And I was like, looking back on that, I'm like, that was pretty fucked up to do because, could have been, we didn't care. Like we didn't give a shit. And it was like, but I don't think anyone knew what was going on, really. They were just kind of like, oh, they're going to close school for 2 weeks to not, like...
Well, like, my sister came home from college thinking she'd be home for a few weeks, and then she had to, like, go back to another state where she had been going to college and, like, in May and get all her stuff and drive it back to New Jersey.
Yeah, like, exactly. It's, like, so... You need to, like, uproot everything that's going on, and, like, that's... I can only like that's a big thing too with mental health, like in this whole thing, like
the uncertainty doing that is what's been.
Yeah, the uncertainty is so scary for people. Like I'm okay at navigating it right now, but in the beginning I was like, man, like who cares? And then I went through a phase of okay, like I'm not letting anyone. My birthday was April 10th, so like in the thick of it, and people would come, and my friends had dropped off like my friend Adrian dropped off like he works at a cheese shop, so he dropped off like a bunch of cheese and all this like artisanal food and like beer, and then my friend dropped off a bottle of wine for my birthday, and like my boyfriend came over and like dropped off stuff, but like it was like leave it on my porch, like when they leave I'm gonna Lysol wipe the doorknob outside because they might have touched it, and nothing you like if I have friends over right now at my house, like if they come over, like my close circle of friends, when they leave I'll like Lysol wipe like the doorknobs and like the light switches and stuff like that, because and like people might think that's extreme, but it's like, okay, well, what's not extreme and what is extreme in the pandemic?
It's better. Like I've had one person come over, one friend, and it was like we were going to eat outside, like we got takeout and we were gonna picnic, but like outside my apartment, but it was raining, and I was like, all right, like, you know, I'll Lysol everything before you come, you know. So that's what I did. But otherwise I've been like pretty much just meeting people outside for the most.
I think while the summer is happening, like we kind of just, it's better to do that. Like, don't get me wrong, I have had friends over, but like strangers, not necessarily, no. Like just like the close friends I've seen the entire time during the pandemic, which has been like 4 or 5 people that I literally just straight up, I'm like, okay, when they leave, I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to
shower and Lysol everything. Yeah. I love meeting new people. Like I love going to events and meeting new people, and I'm very comfortable meeting new people. But like
totally. But
right now,
amazing. No, there's it's not worth the risk. It's like, well, at some point we'll maintain some sort of normality, but right now we kind of all do what we can do to fix it.
Yeah, I you know, have made great use of FaceTime and phone calls, but like, I don't know, if there was like, I'm very much open to potentially connecting with the gentleman from, you know, the Tinders, but like with the risk right now, it's like, you gotta be like, I gotta know that this is like worth it.
You gotta know it's worth it, but also like there is no, like, I mean, I don't know how testing works for you guys. Like
there is free testing available, but it's usually like, apparently it's like there's free testing available pretty like very easily, but I think it's like it takes a few days to get results back, although sometimes they will give you like rapid results and then like official results a few days later sometimes.
Yeah, we have like the official result thing really quick. It's like 24 hours to 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
Toronto is obviously being like an epicenter of like the virus because it's a major city.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a hospital in my area that like, I live in the east end of Toronto. Like I live like 15-minute streetcar ride to downtown, but still people talk shit on the east end because like, oh, east, like there's nothing there because there's like a bunch of houses and stuff like that. And like, that's really about it. But the one hospital here isn't oversaturated. So it's like, I went and got a COVID test. I waited 8 minutes to get in and it took me 10 minutes and I left. And I was like, that's wild because every other place is like a minimum 45.
Wow.
And this took me under 30 minutes, like door to door. I was like, oh, amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I said, yeah, like if you really wanted to go on a date or something, yeah, like
right.
If testing is available, I'd get tested and wait a couple of days and then set a date, you know, like make sure that like he maybe doesn't go and do something wild.
Right. Yeah, no, but I'm, you know, I'm like, okay, it's also in that way been like kind of a benefit for my mental health that I'm like, I kind of can be just in general a lot pickier about who I spend my time with. Because I definitely in the past was, you know, victim to like people in my life that were like, that did not deserve to be there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Jordan, do you have any like specific memories or stories you want to share about Motivation Proclamation?
Do you remember what Yahoo Launch is?
No, but it sounds like an early 2000s, like.
Oh yeah, it was like before YouTube. You could watch music videos, and it'd be like this weird ad you have to watch, and maybe do like a little survey, and then it would be like, all right, you can watch these like 4 videos like ad free or something now.
Wow.
And like type in whatever, and they had kind of obscure stuff, but also like, you know, just your run of the mill video stuff. And I remember seeing it on that, and we watched it in the library in grade 5, like a bunch. It was like that. We watched that, and we watched oh boy, what was that one song? I can't remember right now. I feel like it was Blink-182, like Josie or something.
Oh wow.
Or Damn It or something. But anyways, yeah, it was like, you know, my earliest memory is watching that on whatever, and then like being into Good Charlotte, and then hearing the click on Undergrads and being like, oh my god, and then getting the record and then being like, okay, this is the song or Motivation Proclamation. I think is definitely on the record, like.
Not to completely derail on the click, but I think I'm gonna like start a petition to get them to play the click live whenever it's safe to tour again.
I'm actually boycotting Good Charlotte until they play it live.
Right? Honestly. No.
They give us a tour, and I'm like, yeah, we're not going to take it unless you guys play the click. They're like, all right, sorry, next band. Like,
yeah, I'll be like, okay, man, I have a whole list of songs they've never played live that I would like to hear. But they do play this one live quite frequently, which is great. And
yeah. Yeah, I think my earliest memory is just watching it in the library and being like, this is amazing, like punk music, like this. You know, looking back on it now, it's not punk, but it is in a lot of ways.
Has that emotional thing, but I think it's also pretty distinct from like the bands that were quote unquote emo, like a Fall Out Boy or like a My Chem or the Used.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
But they were also distinct from like the Blink-182 or the Newfound Glory that didn't necessarily get as emotional in most of their music.
No, definitely was a little more positive in some way, or just felt like a bad breakup and like being with your friends or something. But as opposed to this was like an actual like battle that people have going on every day that no one talks about.
Yeah. Something I like to dive into with these episodes is how songs kind of relate to the band's sort of legacy as a whole. And I think a big one for this song is that people, like fans, would like write into them and send them letters and talk to them at shows. And hearing that response is a large part of what inspired them to write Hold On.
Oh, yeah, true. That's that I think a lot of bands back in the day did a lot of those kind of videos, like Billy Talent for one too. But you know, like it was definitely needed because their audience was way younger, and like as if some 15-year-old knows what's going on in his brain. He thinks it's like maybe normal or something when it is normal, but it's like you know,
to find something that like feels like it gets what is going on in your brain, even if you're like 15 and you don't get what's going on in your brain.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. So it's like, that is the song, like, regardless of Hold On, even Motivation Proclamation. Now that it's like how, like I said earlier, how you take it in. Like, I didn't look it up what it was about forever, but now that I have, or now that I know, I'm like, okay, true. Like, I wasn't really far off, you know?
Yeah. Oh, no, you were totally spot on. Yeah.
And even if I wasn't, it's like, it's still the way it made me feel. It's like, exactly how everyone else probably feels listening to it. So.
Yeah. So let's talk about this music video a little more.
Yeah, good.
I mean, we talked about Undergrads. We talked about how it was kind of the follow-up to Little Things in terms of videos. What I found great about this video, so the video shows them, you know, kind of lying on the ground and they're asleep, and like one by one they wake up and start playing together. The director of this video, Mark Webb, directed everything from Yellow Card, Ocean Avenue. He did My Chemical Romance, I'm Not Okay, Helena, etc. He did videos for AFI, MXPX, All American Rejects, Green Day, Weezer. He also directed 500 Days of Summer and the 2012 Spider-Man reboot.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah, like I will like go and look up music video directors. I'm like, oh, what else have they done? And I'm like, oh, I've seen several of these films. I love many of these music videos. So yeah, Mark Webb went on to be and continued to be a very big deal. So
wild. Like,
that is
but like also sick, because you look at that video and it's like, when obviously they were a smaller band. Yeah. And then they get this guy who's worked with like legends and shit. Not saying that they aren't, but they probably weren't at this point, you know?
No,
so
definitely
like,
not at that point.
Yeah. So it's like wild. It's cool. Yeah.
Another little trivia I would like to share about this video from Backyard Media. They did a piece on the band Sly Withers, and apparently this music video directly inspired Sly Withers' video for Sad Guy. And I watched that video, and it's like a similar kind of concept of that, you know, they all kind of wake up and, you know, then they start jamming out together. But I think Sly Withers must be English, British, because I heard you can hear the accents when they sing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which I love. I love when you can like hear like a strong like British accent when someone is singing. I'm like, whoo, I love that.
Well, it's nice to know that like a band from a different country took influence from it, not as opposed to like a band that's from the same area and just like idolizes them. It's like another band from a different country.
Yeah. Who had like they're this big of a deal that they influence someone like across the pond.
Yeah, totally.
I think actually let me look it up because I know so my listenership it's like 72% US. Canada is like 3%, but I think UK is 9%. I was going to say UK is like 9 to 10% of my listeners.
Yeah, totally.
So, and I've, have like messaged with a few people in the UK. So it's cool. I like hearing about, their fan base overseas and such. I wanted to read a little bit from an interview. So there was a 2016 interview with May the Rock Be With You, which, by the way, I am like really running the gamut of like it's like websites and blogs of like all sizes.
Yeah, totally. Like, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So
like,
this is with Benji and Joel in 2016. And this interviewer is like, I was just listening to Motivation Proclamation because I was really unmotivated. So what advice do you have to get out of a slump? And Joel says that everyone needs to remember that they're unique and they're special and there's no one else like you. And we live in a really cynical world. And I understand why people are cynical, but it's important to not let that cynicism defeat you. For me, the best advice is always to keep trying. You got to get back up. For people who struggle with that, for me, what I would say is just keep getting back up. And each time you'll get up a little faster and then you'll start falling less. And then that's how you make progress. Keep going forward, keep getting up, keep trying, and be hopeful. Be optimistic.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that's
I love that.
The most well said thing. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's not telling you a scenario that you should do or try because everyone has different ways of doing things. So it's just telling you to keep trying.
Yeah. And
as opposed to being like, drink a beer or like hang out with your friends. It's like, well, most people don't want to do that. So
right.
Yeah.
But I like what they say about just like keep getting back up and it'll get easier. Because I think that's true. Like,
yeah, totally. It's like if you don't succeed first, like, try again kind of thing. The whole thing. So
yeah. Rockandrollreports.com recently interviewed Boston-based singer VIA. And she brought up Good Charlotte and she said she is partial to this song. Just says that the harmonies on this track are stunning and were pretty unique for that genre at the time. Song elements like that definitely influenced my own writing. So there you go.
I mean, it's funny because I find that like in the early 2000s, a lot of bands like their harmonies aren't as buried,
Yeah.
They're kind of like the other person, like at the bass player or whoever is singing just as loud doing harmony wise. But as opposed to now when it's mostly like the main vocalist usually just kind of like burying it in the tracks, which is like totally fine too because it has that subtle element to it. And that's what I love about it. But yeah, like
I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Yeah.
Yeah, just like it's even the production on records too. Like even if it's like not intentional, it's like when it's like two vocalists going at the same like speed and same volume, it's like, and it's a harmony, it's like it hits way harder.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert on harmony, but yeah, I blast the music in my car and I think about a lot of stuff that's like more recent, not Good Charlotte, but like in general. Yeah. It's like the harmonies are not necessarily as evident or clear to pick out.
Yeah, of course. And like, I feel like that's fine too, but it's like, I understand what this VIA person was saying. Cause it's like, yeah, like the harmonies were like wild for like that kind of music.
Yeah.
That's what gave it the pop sensibilities,
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to read some fan comments from songmeanings.com, which is a great website. The first one is from user something corporate who said, I think this is a sad song. That sounds sad. I think he just wants help feeling better. And user Arion says, I'm pessimistic and I sleep a lot to overcome sadness and kill time. This song helps. And I'm glad, Arion, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm glad that Motivation Proclamation helps you.
Yeah, like that's like kind of cool.
So here is before we start wrapping things up, there was a YouTube comment that I saw that kind of piqued my interest a little, and I'm curious if like what your thoughts on this are now. User Truth of My Youth says, anyone ever notice that if I fall down, would you come around and pick me right up off the ground? Sounds just like Blink-182's Adam song. I never thought I'd die alone. I laughed the loudest. Who'd have known?
Yeah, it's like same kind of structure, but also very similar meaning.
Yeah, similar kind of cadence. I think that's what this person is pointing to, but also like a similar meaning to this song.
It is mostly the meaning. Like I mean, it's like we were talking about like all these bands back in the day were doing like a lot of like anti-suicide songs, stuff like that, and I think Adam song is a great example of that. And so I mean, it's going to be, of course, some similarities between it for sure. Two bands that are big. And so, in the same genre, essentially. So, yeah, like, I now, hearing that, I have to go back and listen to Adam's song and be like, okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm like thinking through it in my head, though. I
know, yeah, I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to get words in. Like, it's not really coming out because I'm like also thinking the lyrics. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the melody is not like identical, but I think like the sort of cadence and the rhythm of it a little.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So, Jordan, how has Motivation Proclamation held up for you over time?
Still slaps. It's so good. It's like it's obviously more nostalgic than it is anything for me now. I don't think it makes me feel a certain way anymore because I think I've heard millions of different newer songs, but it still has some feeling, the nostalgic feeling of being like, oh man, like this is like one of my favorite songs growing up, and this is how it made me feel. Like I still like resonate and feel for it. But yeah, I don't think that song is ever going to get bad or old to me. Like it's still bands that sound like that, and so it's definitely just like they were the fucking godfathers of it.
Yeah, they definitely were in a way. Just a few more questions to wrap up. So what has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and how has that changed?
I think, I stopped listening to Good Charlotte. Not like I stopped, like I just was like, I think I like listened to a bunch of different shit growing up. So, they kind of took a back burner for a long time once I got into things that would be a little less mainstream and whatnot. But when you go back to it, it's still like as good. And to know a band that of their age still putting out records and still touring, like I think that is very influential and cool as fuck, because it's like I'm almost 30. These guys are like 40.
Yeah.
So it's like it's cool to see that. I think especially even right before we when we got the announcement to tour with them, I was like, oh my god, amazing, holy shit. And I kind of didn't write off the rest of their later discography, but I had to go back and listen to it. And I was like, oh, they're still killing it. Like what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? But that's not what I wouldn't have known. Like I knew they were still doing stuff, but it was like it was like periodical for me. Like like I said, the first record I was like really young, and I definitely would go back and listen to it and stuff like that every once in a while with friends, or we talk about it. But I think it's cool as fuck that they're still doing that same kind of shit, and at their age, like that's cool as fuck. So I think that's very influential for me, because I'm like, okay, well, I can still do it, and I can still.
You don't have to stop touring because you're 30 years old.
No, exactly. And I thought that too. I was like, 30 is the end game. Like I turned 30, I'm done touring, and I'm like, no. That's
I would see 30 as like, okay, like I'm 30. If I turn 30, I need to just like, if I haven't quote unquote made it in the music business by age 30, then I need to just get a regular job, because that's also so easy. Right.
Oh, totally.
It's also so easy to find well-paying, quote unquote, regular jobs.
Yeah, totally.
So, Jordan, do you have any last words about Motivation Proclamation, about Good Charlotte, about Like Pacific, or about yourself?
Well, number one, thank you for having me on it.
Oh my gosh, thank you for coming on. Cool,
because like I said, and when the first list of songs, I was like, obviously I love the first record, but I was like, when I saw this, I was like, can I do this song? Like, this is like what I want to do. It's just because I think it's like, we were talking about, it's the underdog song, but it was also like one of my favorites growing up out of all of them. So, hopefully next time I get to see them, whenever all this stuff is over, they play it. Or we get to play with them. That's all I care about. Yeah, I want to play with them again.
Get to play with them, and then bring you on stage to sing this song.
I would 100% just be like, yo, can I do the entire song?
Or actually get them to bring you on stage for both this and the click. I will fly to Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we just get to do a tour with them. I'm going to do every night. But I mean, yeah, Like Pacific has a new record coming out. Like, well, we're recording, right? So we're recording-ish now-ish and getting everything ready to head to the studio. And then we'll, there'll be some singles out before the end of the year, hopefully, and then new record next year. So hopefully that will bring us on a good Charlotte tour.
Amazing. Jordan, so I have also been doing a Generation GC and Friends playlist on Spotify. So that's like the song that we cover on the show and then a recommendation from our guests. So I'll put that the new song Handside on there, but can you also give me a recommendation of just something you're listening to lately?
Yes. Okay. So it's so hard to say her name for me. I don't know why. Beabadoobee?
Beabadoobee? Yeah. I know
who she is?
Yes.
Okay. So the song Care by Beabadoobee is like the one for me right now. I listen to it all the time. It reminds me of Avril Lavigne, but like a little more like lo-fi. It's like more like lo-fi, like maybe a little more like sounds like Soccer Mommy or like Snail Mail kind of vibe, and I kind of like that stuff.
I love Avril. That's been like Avril a recent re-love. I just wrote like an essay on how I like kind of, was too cool for her, and now I'm realizing Avril is awesome. So I'm
I think that's everyone's like vibe when they were younger, for sure. But 100% Beabadoobee Care. That's the song.
I know there's the one Beabadoobee song that's viral on TikTok. The coffee, whatever.
Oh yeah, Deathbed.
Yes, Deathbed. That's the only one I know. Yeah. So I'll go look this one up because you're making it sound very intriguing.
It's so good.
Amazing. So Jordan, this has been so wonderful. Thank you so much. Where can people find you and Like Pacific on the internet?
Like Pacific on all social media. I think we're the most active on Twitter or Instagram. I guess like we don't really post a lot of photo stuff. Like we'll post like stories for once in a while, but I think Twitter's the best thing for us for Like Pacific. And then you can find me on Instagram, Hot Gay Daddy.
Amazing.
And so yeah, that's about it. Like really about it. We don't really use Facebook anymore. We'll do for like obviously when we post events, flyers, and like new records.
Right.
Obviously it's still a platform.
Facebook isn't like as interactive on like a minute by minute level. Wow.
Definitely not. I'm also on the Pure Noise Discord.
Cool.
I did a thing like a month ago for Hands Tied, but I still check in there every once in a while. See people wrote stuff or whatever. So yeah, on there as well.
Amazing. Jordan, thank you so much. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Last week, we talked about self-help from Generation RX. Next week, we'll be talking about a song from The Young and the Hopeless. My name is Molly. I've been your host. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, POD, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow me, Molly, at M Huddleston, MHUDELSON, on Twitter and Instagram. Please subscribe to the show on iTunes, rate it, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Thank you all for tuning in.